In today's video, I try to make the best of a bad situation by looking for artistic, street-style photos like these while at a tech conference in Barcelona. I've been covering this trade show for about 11 years now for CNET. So every year I have to come out and I spend days and days walking around these halls full of people. It's so busy, there are so many journalists and analysts and companies and executives and salespeople and all this stuff. And for the most part, it is one of the most miserably corporate things you could ever come to. So it's really the sort of place where, in many ways, creativity comes to die. So I've always wanted to try bringing my camera, but not just to get photos of products, which is what I'm here for, of course, but actually to see if I can find art here, if I can take photos for the simple joy of taking them. And to be honest, I'm not confident. But maybe it'll surprise me. Maybe I will find some stuff. Zeiss Master Primes. Jealous.
What happens then?
Yep. Sounds good. Okay, I'll catch up with you later.
Usually anywhere like this where we've got light coming in from one side, but then it goes quite dark underneath this bridge, means that we could get some interesting opportunities. I have taken a shot already of a guy was standing around here that might have looked quite good, but maybe there's some other ones I can go for. I always end up looking for street photos where there's someone by themselves in a sort of moment of, I suppose, isolated contemplation or something like that, but that's especially the case in places like this because there are simply so many people. It's so busy, it's so hectic. And I think there's something quite nice and meaningful and thoughtful about someone just kind of taking a moment for themselves. Like over here. Because to be fair, that person looks so cool. I mean, not the smoking, but the hair, the boots. Really love that style. A little bit sort of backlit with this person here. Yeah, I do really like this bright highlight and how it falls totally to shadow behind it. Unfortunately, I think that a lot of my favourite photos so far have basically been people smoking. So it really kind of feels like this video is a little bit of an ode to smoking, which I wouldn't want it to be as a anti-smoker myself. I think I'm going to hang around this area for a little bit. See if anyone else comes through. That might be interesting. I do love this contrast. It looks really cool. And the great thing is that because I am here as a journalist and everyone is recording things, everyone has got cameras on them, you know, all of the publications in the world have people here. It means that it's very easy for me to present a camera like this without feeling like a knobhead. because usually I wouldn't be caught dead doing this out and about in public. Really, that dude sitting down. He's also smoking. Does just everyone smoke in Europe? Is that the thing? Stairs. Busy, 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 busy. Busy, busy, busy. A lot of people at this show, which on the one hand you'd think might make it more easy to get some interesting shots, particularly because I am trying to capture people in these shots. I'm trying to find maybe shots that tell a little bit of a story of the show, but I think it's just because it's so busy, it's really difficult to kind of isolate a subject. I nearly fell over on the travelator. Unfortunately, this video is going to be very, very rough and ready because I am trying to film this whilst actually doing my job, which does make things incredibly difficult. One of the things I am doing to try and make my life a little bit easier is just keeping things simple. I'm shooting on my R5, I've got my 50mm 1.8 lens, which as you can see is really small, really lightweight. It means that it is possible just to always have my camera out and I can just quickly bring it up, fire away when I need to. I've got it on the Peak Design, is this the leash? I think it's the leash, just so that I can drop it if I need to, or if someone does try and take it from my hand, well, they're not going to get very far. I'm just playing around a little, doing some panning shots. Trying to, anyway. I think half a second might be a bit much. So I'm going to go for a fourth. That's F8. Any of these working? Not really. In fact, not at all. I don't mind that, sort of the ghostly suit walking in amongst the figures. I've been trying to play around with using like slow shutter speeds to get motion blur, things like that. So I want to try and I want to try and use creative techniques in order to find more interesting photos in such a boring place. Because obviously, this building, the place, none of it is in any way aesthetically pleasing. It's all just your standard hangar full of tech companies doing things. So at least by trying to use different creative techniques, you might be able to get something that could feasibly be considered artistic. Maybe. I think all I really want to get is 5 photos. If I can get 5 photos from this show that I think are more like slightly more artistic than just a picture, then I'm going to feel quite happy. That's basically the goal. And I don't think that's a lofty goal. I think that's a realistic goal, but one that I will feel, I don't know, means that I've succeeded slightly in my goal, in my plan, in in my plan of getting artistic photos. Using the window as reflection. Oh, you prick, don't move. Really like this view from above, looking down on these execs in their chairs. So you probably noticed that I've been shooting the monochrome color profile, and that's just because I feel that a lot of these shots, because it's such a colorful, vibrant place, I actually think that it might be so colorful that it ends up being quite distracting from the final image. So I'm just trying to visualize things with the black and white color profile applied. But I am, of course, shooting in RAW, so I can always go back to a color version should I want to. So I'm looking down, we've got this person sitting on this bench, but then in the foreground we've got the moving escalator. So I'm just waiting for some people to come up, which they sort of are doing now. I'm again using a slow shutter speed though, because the figure sitting down is very static, but then we've got the movement of the escalator. So I'm trying to combine that. Something like this. This great beam of light coming in across these two sitting here, exposing for the highlights in black and white, getting really minimalist, low-key shot where just this person's face is just being caught by that highlight. And I really, really like that. Can I do similar here? I love finding those little patches of bright light coming through, because when you expose for that highlight, everything else falls to shadow. So it's an amazing way of like decluttering a busy background. In this case, all of this surrounding nonsense, all of the people, all of the signs, all of the lights, all of the everything else, that gets completely cut out essentially, because you're only capturing the very brightest part of the scene. But then we've also got these folk looking sort of not necessarily backlit. Maybe here I go high key and I take my aperture to 2.2, shutter speed to 250, still in black and white, because that really allows that high contrast to work. We just see the shapes of these figures. I like the shot. It's just the suggestion of a person, just the shoes. Something about just the shoes that I like. I do like these big numbers. They do look fun. Maybe I could do one here, camera at ground level. Oh, I could have got someone walking through and shot through his legs. Their legs. That brings me to an end of today's video. I hope it's been interesting to see how it can be possible to find artistic images even in places as creatively uninspiring as a conference centre. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing if you don't already, and I will see you next time.